What's up, everybody? Hey, I'm back in the house once again. I have a guest here, Joe Legolvan from Create Mindset, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right. I've known Joe probably, what is it? We're going on about a year.
Yeah. I think
About
so.
a year. Joe's one of those people. He specializes in coaching humans and humans, exercising the mind. How you think is how you can shape the world around you. And I'm a big mindset kind of person. I don't necessarily go the approach he does, but essentially I just pick myself up no matter what limb is hanging off my body and just go forward. And that's a mindset thing. And Joe really dives down into the psychology of what makes the mind work, the whys, and all those details. You're going to want to hear this if you're interested in how to get out of the funk, anxiety, depression, a poor mental state. Joe's one of those people that you're going to want to watch, pay attention to, because he can help people in that situation. Joe, I've said enough. Please, man, hit him with the floor and let's hit it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that intro. And, yeah, me and you have known each other about a year, but I've probably learned 100 years worth of stuff from you. I mean, this guy is a teacher at heart. And I feel like anybody on social media who's trying to do anything in this space, they've got to have that teacher mentality.
Oh, yeah.
And, you can give somebody $20 and do something for them in that way, right? Like, that's an altruistic thing to do.
Right.
But if you teach somebody something, and of course the analogy comes up, but if you can teach somebody something, you will change. I mean, you can give somebody $1 trillion theoretically of knowledge when you do this. So I think these are the, saints of 2024, the people who are actually telling people what they can do to change their life, or utilizing the internet, this great thing, the internet, to do it to a mass scale. And for myself, I've struggled with my own walk with anxiety, depression, lost a sibling about a decade ago, taking her own life, and she was in the system, our Western medicine system,
Sure.
Which of course I'm not anti that or anything, but I feel like we are missing a whole area of that space where there's a lot of things that people are discovering now about the brain, about the mind, and about the way we think, that we can control so much more than we realize, our chemical structure, all this different stuff. So, yeah, man, I'm just happy to be here and happy to chat it up.
I love it. And here's the deal is that a lot of people don't know this, but I have a military background. I was in the Marine Corps, and I was the weapons training tactics platoon instructor for the entire unit that we had. So I was the operational weapons, basically, expert in our unit. And I trained all the operations, all the people that drop bombs, did air traffic control, forward of the FSL, forward line of troops, is crazy. But I've been a trainer and teacher, mentor for a really long time now. We're going on, 2.5 decades, right? Yeah. Obviously, I have a few years on me, but you said something that really resonates really strongly, is that you need that mentor-student relationship. In the age of the internet, there's a really powerful tool. It's called social media.
Right.
And the massive connections that you can establish through your voice, telling your story, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and YouTube long form. It's just endless. And we did nearly 2 million connections last month.
Wow.
Right? So I fill stadiums of information and views with my little baby platform. And to me, that is both a gift and a curse at the same time. And I feel really blessed to be in that position to share my knowledge, my experience. It doesn't matter if it's on social media growth or if it's personal. I've been through really tough times through the military.
Oh, I bet.
My personal life came crashing down in a burning flame of glory. Comparable to an epic trilogy like the Iliad or something like that. And that's just my life. And I think that's a lot of people's lives. So, right. Joe, kind of hit us with that thing, right? You had a sibling pass away, and I don't really want to dig up a ton of that, but sure. That is a really challenging event to overcome for a lot of people. Don't deal with human loss at all. And I just literally had a client hit me up, had a close person to them, like an ex-husband or something, take their own life. Crazy. Yeah. And, how do you work through that, Joe?
No,
kind of give us your process.
Absolutely, man. And a little background on it, and I can see that in you, that you were a trainer of weapons too, because you take this stuff seriously. Like when
yeah.
you're explaining something, you almost get this sense that this is do or die. Like if you F this up, like you're going to lose a limb, you know? And
Yeah.
so I like that, which of course, you know, okay, you mess it up on social media, but there is that sense in you of seriousness about what you do.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I'm an addict at heart. You know, I'm straight psycho. So when I was younger, whenever I do something, I do it to the absolute extreme. When I was in my teens, I got heavy into drugs, super heavy, almost overdosed. And, you know, that was the time when the pills were really making their waves out here, you know, as far as the opiates and things like that. And I've lost a lot of friends in that world. And so when I become an addict, I become an addict hardcore. Then after that, I started realizing, hey, after I almost overdosed, there's more to this life, right? And I really started digging into spirituality, but not just like, oh, I read a few, you know, Instagram quotes. I was going to temples. I was meditating 3 hours a day. I was spending time with the monks. I was learning about the Vedic wisdom, the deepest wisdom, you know, and going to churches and going and searching all these things. And I literally almost wanted to become a monk. So when I was in my 20s, and I kid you not, I would have been in the robe. I would have been doing everything. And I had a lot of mentors in that space that taught me a lot of things. And there was a moment when I was in that life, I was very peaceful, but there was a moment where it was like, man, I want to create more. Like I felt like I was living in this peaceful space, but I'm here to create. Like I'm here to do some cool shit. I'm here to show people what is possible. And from there, I got into the business world. And of course, the psycho I am, I went balls deep into that, started my own business, started buying up a bunch of real estate, and, you know, have a lot of long-term rentals. We're in Indiana, Memphis. We just sold a spot in Aruba. And pretty soon here, we're going to be out in Miami. We're in, you know, all over America. And now, there was a point when I was making good money in that, but there was still a part of me that was unfulfilled.
Sure.
And I'm like, I need to teach at a massive level. I need to teach the things I've learned. Now, to go back to your original question, how do you overcome that? So when she had passed, I think people think, you know, by presupposition, if I said that word right, that is what changed my life. But really, when she had passed, I was already understanding we are not a body. Like we're eternal energy. Like, and not just understanding logically, but seeing it.
Right.
And when I started studying the cognitive therapy and things like that, I realized that the way we perceive things, we are literally meaning creators here. We are creating meaning. Nobody else can create the meaning of anything in your life. You are the one that is going to decide what this means. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this a lesson? Is this a trauma? And when you reframe things in your mind, you can change the way you experience the past. Right. So when I was going through that death of a loved one, it wasn't like, oh my God, this person doesn't exist anymore. It's like in my cognition, this person left their body. And when I went through that space, everybody thought I was in denial.
Right.
And of course I grieved. I'm a normal human, right? There's part of me that was sad, part of me that missed her, but I was not in denial. I knew for sure she still existed, just not in a physical form.
Right.
And so that experience was not very traumatic for me. It was actually like it changed my mindset to look around and see how many people have no idea about these things in this life. Right. And they're struggling so hard, so bad, because they're not looking at the bigger picture of, you know, and it's not just woo-woo to think we're eternal energy. This is literally the laws of thermodynamics, you know? And a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, okay, you know, the spirituality, whatever. But energy is never created nor destroyed. That's the fundamental nature of reality. I mean, everything else is spawned off of that truth right there. So the energy that makes up both of us has never not existed, and it will never not exist in the future by scientific definition. Now, the forms change. My physical forms change. Your physical form will change. We see that through aging. We see that through life.
Sure.
But that energy there, and so when you connect to a thought like that, it changes your whole cognition. And I really work with people with depression, you know, whatever they've been through in their life, to be able to process that in a more powerful way and process it through a deep truth like that scientific truth we just talked about.
No, 100%. And if you guys think it's woo-woo science or like a horoscope shit, more people believe in horoscope than believe in the afterlife, which is completely silly to me, right? Because here's the deal. Einstein's equations. You ever hear of Einstein, the guy equals MC squared? Basically how all things are calculated related to physics are checked against that equation.
Right.
Energy is infinite. It can move back and forth between mass and over back into energy, but it never dies. It is infinite and it's forever. And that's a good scientific way to remind yourself, is that there's something beyond this bag of meat right here. Yeah. And every religion that comes to mind, minus, the denominations and the boxes and how humans perverse and change things over time. But if you just look at the overarching religions all the way back past the Greeks, before that, there's something past this existence. And maybe we've lost connection to our spirituality with all this information overload in our busy lives. And we think we're so smart and intelligent with our medicines and everything. But I don't know. I think there's a good portion of the Stoics had it way more correct than we have it today.
Absolutely. And I love the Stoic philosophers, and that was so well articulated right there. But exactly. I mean, we are in a generation that has got disconnected, and I'm with you. I'm not a religious guy. And the reason why is we see what we do when we pedestalize people. We put them up on a pedestal and say, this guy's the guy with the truth, right?
Right.
And I know for sure I'm flawed. Like, I'm a super flawed human.
Right.
I make mistakes today. I mean, I came in the wrong time. So I'm a super flawed human. But at the same time, there are so much things that people can value in this life. And one of the issues I see in this world is we are so cynical that nobody has any heroes anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at somebody like our coach, essentially Wes, people look at him and go, yeah, but don't you know he did this? Or don't you know this bad thing about him? I'm like, yeah, but I'm flawed. And if you believe you're not flawed, then you're delusional, essentially. And I will learn from absolutely anybody, everybody, as much as possible. And I think the people that are struggling in this world, they've cut that off because they'll find some wrong thing with whoever out there. And there's even a website that is dedicated to dogging Mother Teresa right now because of social media. God. And they will find, her charity didn't really give this much money or whatever. One of the most unpolarizing people in the world, Mother Teresa, like pretty much 99%. There's people out there who hate Mother Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've gotten so cynical, but this mentor-mentee, like you said at the beginning, we can learn from so much if you just open your mind, and we can transform so quickly. And we are in an age in 2024, and it's going to be exponential, that we could literally heal so many people's lives, change so many people's lives using social media, using the internet. I mean, this is the new wave, man. We're in a brand new wave.
100%. And the reason why I take social media so seriously is because it's a real tool. I probably, like a lot of people, overpaid and was under-received in the value from the internet, right? You leveraged a name, I thought their product would be good, and I basically got junk. And I felt some kind of way about that. Sure. And I wanted to be the person. I'm a serious person. I have doctoral level education, massive experience in combat. I've done a lot of things in life. I make money in real estate. I've never made less than $300,000 on a deal in real estate ever. So I know numbers. I'm a numbers psychopath. But what I wanted to do was be the person that wasn't obnoxiously good looking on camera. I wanted to leverage my knowledge, my skill, and the life that I have to push out a message and a product and a service that was real, it had value, and that you could get results from at a high probability. Yeah. And that's not common on the internet. And people come after me. People come after me all the time. I have death threats. I have people talking shit. Oh, you're bald. You have a gap in your teeth. You have salt and pepper beard. Yeah. I was like, bro, what does your chick look like? What does your chick look like, dude? How much money did you make last year? And how many people did you help, Mr. Expert?
Exactly.
It's all the same. Cat profile, private profile. It's all the same. Doesn't matter if it's YouTube, Instagram. I don't know who these people are. Right. But they need to attack people like us that are trying to make a difference in something, maybe to make themselves feel good about how little they've accomplished.
Oh, yeah, because we basically become a mirror to people who are underachieving. And by underachieving, it's just not fulfilling their potential.
Right.
Whatever that potential is, right? Like somebody who I just watched this public speaker, and he had no legs and no arms. Like, and he's crushing it. I mean, I was like,
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he's got a ton of real estate. He's got multiple businesses. But anyway, somebody's potential, say they have a brain disorder or something like that, that person, even though they go work at the ARC thrift store or whatever, that person could be crushing the potential way more than somebody like myself who has a lot of gifts, a lot of resources, but maybe I'm like fucking up on some level and I'm looking at my life and being like, oh yeah, I could do this, but I'm just gonna chill and, dick around all day long and watch shorts or something, YouTube shorts. But like ultimately fulfilling our potential in this life is so important. And when you're not fulfilling it and you see somebody, the first thing you want to do is hate on them, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's always my test. If I'm hating on people, I for sure am not on my path.
Right.
I for sure am not on my path.
Why would they matter? If you're living up to your maximum optimal potential, it doesn't matter if that's just going to the gym for 10 minutes. No. It doesn't matter if it's reading a book for 10 minutes. That's the most you can do. And that's amazing, actually, because you're starting somewhere. Most people don't do any of those things. Right. So I always come back to life and success is a volume equation. The more work you can squeeze into one duration of a life, the further you're going to get. It's like taking steps. Yeah. And if you wanted to walk as far as you humanly could, you would have to take more steps, given that the average lifespans will say 81 years. Right. Okay, so now we know. The challenge is I can take a certain amount of steps that's really comfortable every day that everybody else is. Or if I wanted to go further while they're taking Saturday and Sundays off, I'm going to keep stepping. And while they're drinking at night and they're hungover in the morning, they're starting slower on their steps. I'm up at the same time every day, 5 a.m., and I'm taking my steps. So I'm just going to get more steps done over those 80 years than them. Who do you think is going to go further? Right. Them or me? Right. I think it's guaranteed that I'm going to be more successful, have more knowledge and more experiences than them in the same life.
Absolutely.
And that in my life is how I got so far.
Heck yeah.
I actually have a reading disorder. Wow. I was slow to read, so I didn't even really realistically read a lot until I started college as an adult. I was 19, I was 20 when I read my first book for pleasure.
Wow. Yeah.
It just made me feel so insecure about struggling reading when I was young that I never wanted to read, and I ran from it as an adult. And I regret it. It's one of my greatest pleasures, reading anything. It doesn't matter, Old Yeller or A New Earth or, what is that? Love languages, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm a consumer of knowledge, and then I love to apply it in my life.
Yeah, that's what I love about, like you and Wes and all these other guys out here, and is, the Stoics, a lot of people think they were just like sitting around in robes and stuff. They were jacked. Like a lot of the Stoics were freaking, the Spartans, all those guys, a lot of them worked out. They had multifaceted lives. They were multifaceted human beings. And I really love that because I think there's no better pleasure in this world than becoming the best version of yourself and, giving that out, right? And whatever that is, like if you just go balls deep into spirituality, you're going to be able to give a lot of knowledge. You go real deep into fitness, you're going to be able to give a lot of knowledge. You go real deep into the content game, you're going to be able to give a lot of knowledge. And so there's no higher pleasure than that. And I see that for sure, that you're
100%. The deal is that with the Stoics is, and almost I go back to religions, it doesn't matter, is the message is the same.
Right.
It's restrict what you put in your body, treat people with love and care, take care of your family, don't disrespect your body or your partner. What part of spirituality and those basic messages is evil? Right. None of it.
Right.
It doesn't say, let's go do Molly on the weekends. It doesn't say, let's go chase and try to sleep with as many partners as humanly possible to fit into society. It doesn't say hurt people or disrespect our bodies in any way. It says the exact opposite. Right. Do hard shit a little bit, restrict what you put in your body, and then take care of yourself and the people around you. That, to me, sounds like the American dream to me.
Oh, 100%, man. And it's a virtuous thing. Self-development is virtue. And the reason it's virtuous is, a lot of people say, well, love, or discipline. Which one's more important, right? It's like the paradox or whatever. But you could be a dude on the street who is completely jacked of his life, and he says, I love people. Okay, well, that may be true, but what value is he going to be able to give? Where if you build yourself up financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, you are like so abundant in all these different areas. You're going to be way more abundant because you are self-developing all this time. It's like you created such a personal brand, if you will, of greatness that there's a lot to tap into. And so when people are not self-developing, I look at those people as unvirtuous. And and some people, they see the opposite. Like, oh, look at this dude, he's a narcissist, or he's so vain, or he thinks he's so cool because he's got, money, or he's got muscles or whatever. But they're not seeing, and then they themselves are not self-developing. They're not seeing that the person who is really trying to be the best version of themselves is the most virtuous person, because he's going to be able to love and help more people with his life or her life. Therefore, it's one of those things that self-development is the most virtuous act, even though it seems like a selfish thing. And so I really dig into that, and I like to get around people who are living that life, because I know there's a deeper why there. I know they're doing it for a deeper purpose.
There's the deal is, if you're a leader, then you have to do certain things to lead by example. This is a fundamental pillar in leadership in the Marine Corps, which is lead by example, which is opposite of hypocritical. Hypothetical is hypocritical. That means, oh, I could do that if this condition was met. No, you can't, because you can't do it now.
Right.
So you would never do it when you had $1 million sitting in the bank. You won't go to the gym because you don't care.
Right.
You didn't do it when you were broke. The deal is if you can achieve it, then you can teach it. Yeah. And then even if you didn't verbally instruct the world around you to make the positive changes that you figured out, they're going to do it by just guilt by association. Success rubs off on each other. So Joe's behavior, if we spent a lot of time together, would sort of rub off on me, especially if they were very positive. Or if Joe was in an elevated position with real estate or spirituality or whatever, I would sort of adopt some of those energies and concepts just by exposure, law of exposure, right? I can't be unexposed. Once I see something that is profound in my world, it cracks my view of existence and reality. And that's exactly what we want, specifically when it's positive.
All right, absolutely, and soak that in. And I think we become expert filters at that as well, because we look at the people, and there are attributes of different coaches that I've had that I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to take this on because this person knows this. And there's attributes you don't, but you just become a filter to that. And I've got a friend like this. He looks at everybody he sees and says, oh, yeah, I don't listen to anything they say because they did this one thing one time. And I'm like, I want to see a camera on you on your worst day. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. And I'm taking advice from him. And it's like, and I know a lot from it. So from his life and the mess ups he had, and I'm the same way. Like I've definitely had deep mess ups in my life. Even currently, there's things I screw up on. But at the same time, I know that I can learn so much from so many people. And that's what's great about the internet is we are doing this at an exponential rate. My biggest mentors don't even know they mentored me. They have no freaking clue. They don't know who I am.
You're just a voyeur watching them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but absolutely, man. And
that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So on that, in society today, I can't speak for everybody, but it's a really common thing to do what Joe just said is this person doesn't vote this way. So nothing they have of value I can listen to.
Right.
And they segregate themselves from the world. The deal is that diversity and knowledge, culture is the most beneficial system that exists to propagate a strong society. Yeah. For example, I think Hitler has very good things to teach society. Sure. Similar to Martin Luther King, or Malcolm X, or the Buddha. And here's why. Don't try to cancel me because I said that. Is understand what Hitler did. His message that he wanted to achieve was off-center, maybe even psycho. It doesn't matter. But how did he move the masses through his speech before social media and convince that many people that he was right? Yeah. That's something to pay attention to because he may be one of the greatest speakers throughout all of history. He's top 10. His just message was way off ethical standards, right? No different than Martin Luther King. Even Obama was a great public speaker. 100%. And you have to ask yourself, what are they doing and how are they delivering their message to convince the masses that what they're saying is correct? So I love diversity because I want to hear the other side of a story. I never shut off someone from telling their position because I'm interested, because there may be a component in their position that we align with, even though it's different. You may just think Hitler was a great guy. I don't. Sure. But I want to understand what you view the greatness as because that component of their personality and actions may have been really great.
Right.
It just how they got there was absolutely atrocious. So that's what I love about the diversity of the internet. I don't want to silence anybody. I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I'm pro speech, even if it's uncomfortable and hurts, because as long as it's not illegal, I think we should do it, because that's how we grow as a culture.
Yeah.
Difference of ideas.
No, 100%. And that's I think a big part of my message, and maybe why I'm here now, is getting people out of these echo chambers. Because there is so much power to the internet. We can do so much good here. We can help so many people. But there's also the opposite end of that, where people just will go into one echo chamber. And we see that now, where they can, news used to be ubiquitous. We'd all read the same paper. And then we'd all assess from that. And we'd, of course, have different perspectives, but we were reading the same things. Now with the internet, people are literally living in different realities. Like, they see the world, the government, whatever, in such a different way than everybody else. And the problem with that is they polarize the other side, and they literally demonize the other side. So I think we got to grow past that as a society. Oh, yeah. And once we do, we realize that the other person is not necessarily evil. And there's a saying in the Tao that said, the easiest way to underestimate your enemy is by saying they're evil. Because that's just like a cop-out. It's a write-off, right? To say this person's whatever, right? And say, I'm never going to learn anything from them. They're a drudge on society. But kind of what you had said with Hitler, and I agree 100%, is you can learn so much from somebody like that. Of course, we don't align with his value system, but the way in which he presented. And so I'm never one of these people that will try to cut myself off from the other side, because I don't align 100% with their values. But I think that is the world we're entering into. And the more we can grow past that as a society and as a human race, we are just going to level up. Like, we are going to, 10 years from now, 20 years, 100 years from now, we could be living in a slight utopia if we really got around that. And I know that's hard for people to think, because they think things are getting worse. But really, we can change our whole lives, and we can create a bunch of badass motherfuckers who are taking care of themselves in every single way, and create an entire generation that will lead other people and help other people.
You always have to understand is, what is the why that things are presented you in the way they are? The system will just say they, and this would be mostly big business and big government, wouldn't want you to dial in your nutrition because you'd be healthier. What's the biggest business in the United States is the fast food industry, or the food industry, if you will. So they give you poor quality food that leads to poor health over time. No. And then they treat you, they don't cure you, they treat you on the back end. So they juice you on the front end with poor, mostly suspect illegal quality food, and then juice you on the back end with treatment when you're older, as you've ruined your body. So, and that is like 1 and 2 with the biggest industries in the United States, multi-trillion-dollar industries. They don't want to change the status quo. So they present you information only that benefits them back and forth. 100%. And it's the same with the division in society, is that social media is designed to be very viewable. However, the system starts to present you only your position of interest back and forth. So if you believe in aliens, when you start scrolling on TikTok and you watch a couple of those videos that are like kind of cool, and you're like, what is that? Was that? Did I just see an alien ship? You're going to start seeing a bunch of that over and over again, because they're feeding the monkeys. Like, the monkey wants more peanuts or whatever, and they're just going to give it to them over and over and over again, because that's the dopamine hit that they know you want. Absolutely. So the harsh reality about social media is to be very careful, is because no, not everybody in the whole world is ripped and has tattoos like Clinton, is all jacked and tall and good looking like Joe. That's what the system is determining you want to see, and it'll only give you that. Right. The hard part is you'll start to feel like everybody's like this but me. Right. And then if it's a vision in alignment with what you view, then only everybody views what I view, so anything different is wrong. Right. And that's just the hard reality of how social media is designed. And it can be very dangerous if you don't. They're very dangerous if you don't understand mechanisms that play with the systems.
Absolutely, man. And I see it, with my parents' generation. People are so polarized in different ways. And you brought up a good point, where you're just seeing what you think the rest of the world is, but you're not seeing, and we are not omnipresent, as human beings. We don't know our full impact. We don't know all the different perspectives, all the different things. So just keeping an open mind, I think, is so powerful. But yeah, man, what you said there was super good, because the algorithm's going to keep feeding you what you want to see, and then that's just going to dive you deeper into that message or that idea. And the powerful thing I want to give to people in the work I do is nobody is telling the meaning of your life but you. And it's not God. And people have a problem with that but think about it. God gave you, life or whatever, but he gave you free will to create the meaning out of your experiences.
Sure.
And so you have free will to look at life and say, was this a lesson? Was this a tragedy? Was this, and nobody else but you can do that. And the meaning you give to life is going to completely change your psychology. And it's interesting because some of the clients I work with are really young, super young. And the cool part about it is they get these concepts quicker than older people.
Oh yeah, because they're open to learning.
They're open to learning.
Yeah.
And you would think, because you think, oh, well, the older people are more intelligent, they've had more experiences, but they're living in a pattern over and over and over, and they've already decided this is what everything means. And they've lived that meaning for 30, 40, 50 years, where a young person, when I work with them, they're like, okay, cool. You said I can do whatever I want. Okay, cool. You say I'm eternal energy, I can create whatever. They're accepting these things because happiness is not necessarily correlated with intelligence, not always correlated with money. Not that I'm against those things, having intelligence and money, but they're not a one-on-one correlation. Happiness is 100% correlated with perspective.
Yep.
And perspective is correlated with how you view the world, and also knowing that you can change that at any given moment. And that's the gift I want to give to people, is a new perspective to look at life through a different lens, so that they can be more happy, they can achieve more, they can be more, and do it for the ultimate goal of helping everybody else around you.
Oh, I love that. And that has been paramount to the success of my outlook and execution almost for decades now, because it's all good. To me, most people are like, oh, it's happening to me. For me, it's happening for me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bad day. To me, it's a win. It's all good, because this is how I view life, because that's necessary in combat. So, this tanker just got blown up and a bunch of people are in pieces. Good. Yeah. They're like, what? Yeah, good. Wow. Now we got to figure out how to execute without that shit. Good.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
There's always a lesson. Oh, inbound rockets are coming. Good. Oh, we're going to go attack this. Good. Oh, we got schwacked here. Good. It's all good because it's lessons. Absent failure, there is no level of success, because you're not pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
And that's the best teacher over time. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So if you can mold your perspective from a glass half full or a glass half empty, if it's a bad day, change it into a good day.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law just passed away yesterday. Okay, good. I didn't like that old hag anyways. I'm gonna see her again. It's okay.
Yeah.
She had cancer. She was in a lot of pain. Right. I'm sad I won't get to see her again, but it's a good thing that she's gone, because she's not in pain anymore. Right. And then the family can move on. Right. And that's a very morbid way of looking at it, but it's a life cycle.
But you said something that I will see her again. And that cognition is so important, and especially with, to your original question about passing of my sister, one of the analogies one of my teachers, mentors, the spiritual mentor, is like, when somebody passes away, don't think that they're gone forever. Think of it like they went to Brazil. Like, obviously they're not here right now physically, they're in Brazil, but someday you're going to go to Brazil, and someday you're going to see them again, right? And so that changes your whole perspective around everything. But one of the issues I'll run into, and I've had this with the older people too, is they kind of know this is true. And when I say something like that, like you control your perspective, but there's also a level of judgment there, because they're like, shit, I don't always have a good perspective, right? And so a lot of times we look at people and say, oh, this person lacks self-awareness or whatever, and we think those type of people are bad people or whatever. And I do a lot of work with inmates too. I've been doing that for 10 years, working in the jail system and talking with these different people, and you think you're going to run into sociopaths in there. What you will run into is some of the most guilt-ridden individuals in the world. They are carrying so much guilt and so much shame and different things. So I think it's not that people lack self-awareness. They lack enough compassion for themselves to say, oh shit, I was wrong. You know what I mean? And if you can have compassion for yourself, you're gonna be able to look within, because we're so scared to look within at the way we've lived our life because we judge it so harshly. But if you can look at it in a more relaxed manner, more peaceful manner, you are going to be able to change your perspectives. And one of the ladies who wrote me, she goes, she goes, I know what you're saying is true, but I feel so bad and I feel like such an idiot because I didn't get it up until this point. And I was like, that's just another trick of the ego. You know,
Right.
the ego's trying to make you feel bad because you're not there, or you know, guilt or whatever. And it's like, but again, these younger people don't have that. They're just like, oh, okay, I'm still in the learning phase, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to have compassion for yourself when you are looking at your perspective to change it, because all of us have been wrong. All of us have had bad perspectives in certain points in our life. And I'll look back at this version of me 10 years from now and be like, oh, I was an idiot. But that's not what it's about. It's about looking at it, changing it, having that compassion for yourself so you can have the self-awareness to actually change.
Oh yeah. And here's something to take away is that not to defend the people that are in prison systems, but most of those people, if you were to interview at mass, a lot of them, it was literally a decision that they made in under 30 seconds that cost them their freedom in their life.
100%.
It was most of the time with the influence of alcohol, drugs, etc. Almost every single scenario that's involved. And everybody makes mistakes. And imagine this, right? We're going to judge people that are sitting in prison. However, in the state of California, if you have any level of alcohol in your body and someone wrecks into you, we'll just say T-bones me in the side. The passenger wasn't wearing their seatbelt in their fucking car. I go to prison.
Wow.
Right? Because of the laws there. Now, I'm shamed. What was I doing? Should I have been in the car with 2 drinks? Probably not. Should have Ubered like a responsible adult. But how many humans in the scale of our society have gotten in a car with just 2 drinks in their body over, we'll say, a 2-3 hour period?
Yeah.
Any level of detectable alcohol, someone dies, you go to prison.
Absolutely.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But that's reality. So that's a scenario of it could have happened to just about anybody.
Right.
How do you get past that? How I get past things is I just accept the flaws of the decisions I made in the moment and figure out what part of this situation do I own? Okay, if I was in that situation where I went to jail or prison for drinking two glasses of wine on a date, okay, I was unlucky. Shit, I got to ride this out and figure out what I'm going to do. Can I stay out of the system long enough to return back to society, or am I just going to be a really dope fucking prison inmate? Like that's it. You really have like those 2 choices, and just show up every day. I mean, eventually you'll get out of the situation, and if you have drive, you can recover your life in maybe 5 years or less.
100%.
Yeah, I know several prior prison inmates making ridiculous amount of money, but they work really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they outwork me by double, and I work hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's why they're more successful. Well, their lives are usually falling apart in other ways because they work so much. But you know, that's how you get through it.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, we can't judge those people because a lot of it's environment. You know, for me, like a middle class white dude, like my bad decisions aren't like me joining a gang or going to shoot somebody, but it could be like cheating on my wife, right?
Sure.
Like, and so but you know, that's not obviously a crime punishable by law. Although, you know, I'm sure my wife wouldn't.
It'll
be
probably
sad
be
if
more expensive.
it will be.
To be honest,
I think I might want to do a week
What
in
does
jail
going to
instead.
prison cost you when you make nothing?
Yeah.
But if you're successful, a
Yeah.
divorce will cost you half of all your shit.
Exactly.
You're calling up Clinton, hey, could I sleep in that spare bedroom of yours, bro, for like, I don't know, ever?
Forever. Yeah, exactly.
While we work through this nasty ass divorce where this woman wants to kill me and chop me into pieces.
Exactly, and I see that with those images. I see them, and I don't judge on the external. I just look at their hearts, and I look at the we want to get to the root of things. We don't want to look at it's mixing up the picture with the frame. You know, the picture is the actual mindset, the content. The frame is all of the crap that it caused, whether that's addiction, whether that's negative self-belief, negative self-talk, you know, cheating on your wife, all these those are the frames. But the picture itself is saying, you know, the heart of everything is us feeling disconnected to our source and us limiting ourselves and limiting our dreams and limiting our power and saying, you know, I can't do it. And there's a lot of talk about, you know, false teachers and true teachers and who's real and how do you have that discernment. And my qualification of a true teacher, a true leader, is they teach other people their own power. And we look throughout history at all the great leaders, you know, Jesus, Buddha, you know, Gandhi. They taught people that they empowered people.
Yeah.
You know,
Empower them.
they weren't saying like, oh, look at me, I'm so great. They were saying, look at you. Like you have that power within you. And so anybody sharing a message and showing other people they can do it too, I feel like is coming from the place of the highest consciousness there is showing other people that they themselves can do it too.
I definitely think that's selfless. And, you know, I apply a level of that leadership just through what makes sense. That's what I was taught is you basically teach what works for you. Yeah. So there's no hypocritical there. I'm not selling smoke and mirrors. I'm actually, when it comes to content and growth online, I just simply teach the systems that I've built that work for me. Yeah. And I understand it end to end because I actually did it. I didn't go buy someone's shit and then copy it over and then start to sell it at, you know, 1/5 the price and then call it mine. Like, no, I actually figured this shit out and I want to see them get results.
I love that.
And help them in a way that I wasn't helped.
Yeah.
It took me 2 years of my life and 10,000 hours of trial and error, research and application to figure all this shit out. And we pieced it together. Like, it's just the very end. You look at my page and you're like, what in the holy shit is happening with this page? And it's because I pieced together all the components and now we have a unified strategy to apply it and we're getting massive results. But that's the exact same thing I do with the clients. I don't gatekeep anything. I actually give them my system and instruct them how to write scripts, film, and then apply, review their analytics, make choices that are based off of numbers. We don't do feeling and hope in this motherfucker. I'm a math guy, right? So if it's math, there's no emotion involved. This number here is telling us to make a decision that should result in something good. Boom, done. And I learned that in the military. We use event-driven decisions to attack on the battlefield or maneuver. It's all event-driven. None of it's like smoke and mirrors and feeling, well, I feel like the enemy's going to go do this. Like, no, where's the damn intel, fool? Like, oh, when they meet this condition, we do X. It's that simple. I apply that same shit in business, and it works almost every damn time.
That's awesome, man. Super cool. Super good.
Let's see here. So I want to close because we have a limited time with Joe, and his time is precious. He's out here just doing crazy shit in Miami, like filming and running around in exotics and beating back all the groupies and, you know, meeting famous people that are on television shows and shit. So Joe's time's precious. Joe, if you could give any nugget of knowledge to the audience that maybe changed your life, it could change theirs, please drop it on them and hit them with that.
Man, you are the storyteller of your own life. Like nobody else is narrating your life, what it means, what this podcast means, what your body means, and whatever you decide, you're right. The mind is not going to argue with you. So if you decide that your life has meaning, it has purpose, the mind's going to say, cool, let's feed you more thoughts like that. If you say everything's meaningless, you know, there's no purpose, I'm a piece of shit, the mind's going to say, cool, okay, let's roll with that narration. But you are the narrator of your own life. Never forget that. Never give that power away. And a lot of people do. They'll give it to their parents. Maybe my parents did something. And you can love your parents and know they did their best. But you can also look at that and say, but they didn't understand my meaning. You know, and you can, or society. You can say, society may have some good points to it, but they don't know what I am. And the thing is this, we don't even know what we are, right? Like when people say human beings, we are still experiencing what a human being can and can't do, and what energy can and can't do. And that is the whole process of life, is expanding and showing what a human can and can't do. And 100 years from now, the things that you may do may expand that vision. So realize that we are creating our collective reality out of collective experiences, out of collective purpose, collective power. So whatever you dive into, do it wholeheartedly, knowing that your effect on the world will be such a profound ripple effect. Even though you may not see the effect, that could literally change our destiny as human beings.
This is real simple, guys. All you have to do is envision where you want to go in life and then put it into action. Okay. Take something from this podcast, get your damn head out of the clouds, out of social media, off of the couch, and go start stepping in the direction of change in any way that you always dreamed of. It's infinite. There's nothing you really can't achieve if you believe you can get there. There's children that build fission reactors in their fucking basement through YouTube. You can get your big ass off the couch, and you can get your depressed and anxious self off the couch out into the world and start to change the way your mind views your current situation and frame it as positive, not negative. Like always, tune into the next one, and thank you for showing up.
Crushed it.
Yeah, good job, Joe.